Hi everyone, welcome to our EL Toolkit for in-person and remote learning training. We're so excited to share our new Beverly Public Schools English Learner Education site with you. In today's training, you'll be taken through a two-part workshop. First, I'll give you a brief overview of the new website. Then you'll think about English learners that you will have in your class this year or that you have had in the past. From there, depending on the English language proficiency of those students, you'll focus either on beginner or intermediate strategies. You're going to read through and watch the videos that accompany the strategies. I suggest that after that, you complete part 1 of the exit ticket. This should take about 30 minutes. Following that, you'll move on to part 2, which will be an additional 30 minutes. Then you can complete part 2 of the exit ticket. Caitlin will be explaining part 2 in the next video. If you have any questions, please write them in your exit tickets because we will be compiling the questions and answers in a Google document that we'll share out with you at the end of the week. We hope that you find this workshop useful and informative, and please, as always, feel free to reach out to your school's ESL teacher with any questions. We're going to get started with the website. You can either pull it up while listening or just follow along while I record how to navigate the site. So this is our new website. If you go to sites on Google, the code is BPS-ELE-educators-site, but it's also going to be linked just below this video that you're watching in the slides. So on the homepage, you're going to find a small description of our program and a little meet the team, a photo and a bio for our teachers. At the high school level, we have Alan and Krista. At Beverly Middle School, we have Bree and Jess. Ayers, we have Nikki. At Centerville, we have Rachel. At Cove, myself, Sabrina. At Hannah, we have Olivia. And at North Beverly, we have Caitlin, who is the other presenter today. You'll find all of the tabs for our website at the very top. Here's the homepage, beginner strategies, intermediate strategies, distance strategies, PD for ESL, communication supports, and then when you click on more, depending on how big you have your window, more might have a few or just these 3. So BPS ELE forums, WEDA resources, and referrals. So if you have beginner level students, those are non-English speakers, levels 1 and 2, you're going to be really focusing on the beginner strategies today. You're going to take a look at the different strategies. They're broken out into speaking strategies, listening strategies, reading, and writing. So you'll go through the different videos, take some time getting to know the different strategies. You can look through different PDFs that we have for you, as well as the descriptions and videos, just to familiarize yourself with some of the strategies or something that you might have already learned but forgot about. There are a few different strategies for each domain of language, and then you're going to think about how you could implement these into your classroom with the students that you will have. There's a comprehensive checklist for accommodations for both beginners and intermediates broken out by domain, so reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So these are just some ideas of things that you can use in your classroom to help your ELs. For elementary level beginners, there's a few different resources as well at the bottom. If you're working with intermediate level students, so those are your levels 3 and 4, we have the same setup. So speaking strategies, listening strategies, reading strategies, and writing strategies. You might find that some of your students are beginners in writing, but maybe they're intermediate level when it comes to speaking and listening. So depending upon their levels, you can take a you can take a look at these 2 tabs, beginners and intermediate. But this is where you'll be watching the videos and then responding to that part 1 of the exit ticket. If you are a remote learning academy teacher, or if you are teaching the hybrid model, or of course at the high school level where you're fully remote, this is where you want to look for some distance strategies. just different things that the students might need that might help you, connecting with families, tech. There's a lot of different opportunities for PD on this page for distance strategies. The next tab is PD for ESL. MatSol has a ton of different PDs that are really informative and helpful. So you can go on to matsol.org/courses and find some self-paced workshops. Or here are 3 separate workshops that they had this spring that are on YouTube. So we have digital tools to help ELs survive, succeed in Excel, using Flipgrid, and solving ed puzzles. Also below that, Color in Colorado has a distance learning PD linked right below, and then just a few of the PDFs from trainings that we have been to as ESL teachers. The next tab is communication supports. This is really important. This is where we're going to explain to you how to translate a document. There's different explanations for translating a document in Google Doc or Word documents, as well as PDFs. I'm going to show you right now how to translate a document using Google Docs because it is the easiest and most efficient. So this is an example of a file monitoring form that's in English. If you go to the top tab, you have Tools. Click on Tools, then scroll down to Translate Document. When you click that, it's going to ask you to rename the document. So it will always start with a copy of, so translated copy of. I typically get rid of this. You can do whatever you'd like. And then at the end, I just add whatever language I'm going to be translating it into, because you might be making copies of multiple languages depending on the needs of your class and your students. So for the sake of this, I'm going to translate it into Spanish. Go down to choose a language and then scroll down to the language that you need and click Spanish or click translate. So the really nice thing about this is that when you use Google Translate to translate a document, it keeps your formatting exactly how you had it on your original document. So anything that was bold is still bold, centered, in tables, italicized. Everything is exactly the way that you had it on the previous document, just now in another language. It's a good idea at the bottom to just add that it was translated using Google Translate, just so that if there are any errors or grammar mistakes, that people know that we used Google Translate, not an interpreting service. For IEPs and other documents like an IEP, we would not use Google Translate. But for something that you're just sending home, field trips or about me, any quick information, something like an everyday form that you're going to send home to families, you can absolutely use Google Translate. It is a good idea to include the English version as well whenever you're sending something home in a second language. So that is how you translate a Google Doc. The next tab is our ELE forms. So for administrators, we have the home language survey that's what's used in the registration packet. We have these translated into quite a few different languages. It's really important that we use the native language for families so that we get the answers that we're really looking for, that there's no confusion. And then there are some forms for ESL teachers, which if you're not an ESL teacher, you do not have to worry about. Then we're moving on to WIDA resources. I'm just going to quickly touch upon this. Caitlin is going to be explaining this in more depth because this is part 2 of the workshop, but WIDA is the consortium that we follow, and it's there's a ton of resources. This is where you're going to find your can-do descriptors, your key uses, the standards for English language development, and more importantly, what you're going to be doing today is creating your own WIDA account and then getting involved in some PD. So some of these self-paced micro offerings. So Caitlin will go over that in more detail in the next video. The final tab is for referrals. So duly identified students or students that we have concerns about, we can complete observation tools. This is really helpful. Just gives us some ideas of where students should be and what we're seeing, gives us a starting point, and a couple more forms for ESL teachers. So that is our website, and I hope that you are able to find some strategies that you can use in your classroom that will be helpful. If you have any questions, again, please add those to the exit tickets, but that is all. So you're on your own now to look at those strategies and complete part 1 of the exit ticket, and then you're welcome to move on to part 2. Enjoy.